Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Some good news given all the coronavirus outbreaks recently, and what could possibly be a similar way to cure it, given this works in a similar way to vaccines. But it's the response instead of the weaker version of the virus to get the humans to create their own antibodies to it. So the London patient, who is only the second patient to be cured of HIV, reveals his identity a year after doctors announced he had been wiped off the AIDS-causing virus. So yes, if you remember back from a year ago, another patient, the second patient, has been cured of AIDS. How was it done? It was done through stem cells, essentially. They mentioned that there are many dangers involved, but we know that many people have success in markets that aren't as regulated as the United Kingdom and America, and so people in southern US of A tend to just go south of the border into Mexico to get stem cell treatments and cured for their ailments a lot quicker than trying to go through surgery. This is particularly prominent with muscle injuries, if they've damaged their shoulder or their knee, their anterior cruciate ligament, for example, the ACL. Those kinds of things recover a lot quicker than trying to do surgery. In that instance of the ACL, you take out part of your knee to move it to the other side and put it back in because you don't need as much on one side. It's a bit of a mess, and then takes a while to recover, and it's never truly as good as it could be. Joe Rogan mentions quite a bit about this, as well as a friend of his being an archer who got stem cell treatment instead of surgery for his shoulder and was back as good as he was in just a few weeks instead of slowly building up over several months as is necessary after surgery. So it's the same thing there, and then they have to go to Mexico, as Tim Ferriss points out as well, with stem cell research and the applications that they can do. So the idea of a stem cell and why it's called a stem cell is because it is a cell that can become anything, instead of being particular for your arms or your bones or your liver or your toenails, anything like that. It's a stem cell, so it can go to be anything in anything that it needs to be. And so what they found here is that there is a particular genetic mutation for about 1% of people from Northern European descent, and they call it the CCR5 cell, which is good at controlling the effects of HIV. So it's a naturally occurring mutation found in nature, found in people, and that prevents HIV from spreading like it normally would. It's able to control it. Therefore, they're known as the controllers, elite controllers, in fact. And so when you find somebody who matches with you, and by that I mean has the same proteins so that your body isn't going to reject it like it would hopefully do with any virus that means to affect it, and then it will accept it, take it in as its own, and that will become a part of your body as well, in a positive way, and that will then lower the effects of the HIV, so much so that it seems to be a cure and is no longer detectable. But of course, as it has just been a year, they could say, well, it's just dormant at the moment and it might come back, but a year is ordinarily long enough, because it's normally 3 weeks is long enough to see if it comes back. So that's fine. It does seem to be an actual cure. So he was given it to turn the tide of cancer, and it just so happened to cure his HIV as well. So people are saying, well, be careful, because it's rather unlikely that it's going to help. They have to have measures that are normally lethal and fatal, that would ordinarily kill a regular person, but for whatever reason, both these patients who were cured the same way were able to survive it, and there were, it's because there were complications that gave them so-called fatal doses that actually got them to survive through it. So I would say it's the same thing for coronavirus, because it's similar to how vaccines were understood in the first instance, because all vaccines is getting a weaker version of the virus, then injecting you with that, so it's either weaker because it's been out in the sun for a while, essentially, or they've opened it up, taken out all the negative parts of it, the damage-causing parts, and it just has the marker left on the outside. So your body finds the foreign invader, slowly morphs around to be able to destroy that foreign invader because it's got the markings on the outside. They then remember that and replicate it because you got your T cells and your white blood cells, and then whenever it comes back, they can wrap around it and destroy it and keep you safe. So that's the way vaccines work. The way they originated was they would infect orphans and stable boys, basically, with a virus, or it could be bacteria, then not necessarily a virus. And if they survived it, then they would carry them around to whoever wanted the vaccine for it, take blood from that previously infected person and inject it into the person who wants the vaccine, and that is the weaker part of it, which means the person would then develop the response needed for the antibodies and the antigens in order to not be infected if they get a stronger case of it. So that's how it started, and they'd even get a dose of their white blood cells as well. So the same thing goes here, whereby it's trying to find the parts of the body that respond to kill the foreign invader, which is the damage-causing part, and then putting that into other people's body. But it needs to be similar enough to the person's own genetic makeup in order for their body to be accepting of it. And that is how this was done, essentially, to break it down in a very sciencey and apolitical way. So they say be careful of not thinking that this is going to help other people, because it is very obscure, and it's, they're 12 years apart, essentially. But at least showing it a second time means that it does work. So that's nice in a way. But given that we know the stem cells are so useful for curing other things, they would then say, well, there aren't enough donors who can help out, because you need donors who have the mutation that you want, so the CCR5 for the HIV, and then you need to have the matching protein, so it's very unlikely you'll find someone who matches you, and then you'll need enough of those donors to be able to help you. The answer is, of course, growing them in laboratories of sorts, so that the people who donate them don't need to donate much, and then it's just grown in a petri dish of sorts, as long as is necessary, and can keep growing it off that, the same way that the idea is to grow meat in petri dishes. But of course, it's as simple as that sounds, it's not at all easy. So we'll have to see in the coming years with the advancements of medical innovation, seeing as of about, I think, 23 different types of cancer, one of them has already been cured as well, and stem cells do seem to be the way of the future. When you're a baby, you have predominantly stem cells. In fact, it's before you are a baby, when you are still a fetus, you are predominantly stem cells, and that is a way to get stem cells. It would be after impregnation that you then take the cells out. The only other place is kind of stem cells, which is in the base of your spine, so they can be used as well. But it seems to be growing them in a petri dish would be best. So then it just comes into the ethical and moral points of, well, what you have through those stem cells, if you take them out as a fetus, it could be its own life. So why are you killing that life to help yourself? But of course, we don't need many dead fetuses in order to provide enough for everybody, if they can be kept growing. So let me know what you guys think down below in that ethical dilemma of taking fetuses to help cure adults, or if they should be left alone, and how many are okay to take out, how many fetuses is it okay to kill and terminate to be able to help out other people. And if you've got hope going forward that this kind of practice can be used further widespread, because the cost will get down as it becomes more popular, and there is more innovation in how to fine-tune it and make it more efficient. Do let me know. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say, but hopefully that was a nice little story to start the week. So until next time, have a good one.